Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Ben. Now I'm going to go over using STAR to progress monitor students over the course of the year. So first, just some some general info about the entire process. You may use STAR to actually progress monitor up to twice monthly. So up to every 2 weeks, you would just log in and actually give the same assessment that you normally do during the benchmarks. There are enough items in the sort of STAR universe of test questions that there's sort of no worry about like having students see the same test questions or get used to the format. The next thing is that in order to actually progress monitor reliably and to create a valid trend line, you need at least 4 assessments to actually establish that pattern. And using the progress monitor feature has no effect on SGP, but it could, for example, help students get more comfortable with the STAR setup and just the sort of whole system and the format. And then it also might give you some formative data about students' growth and their SGP before you come back to actually do testing again in the spring. So I want to go in and do a quick demo of setting up a progress monitor goal for a student. So I'm going to go to my web browser, my handy web browser, and I'm going to go to the STAR portal. You would obviously log in as a teacher. I'll log in with my super secret admin password. And I'm going to go in and set up a progress monitor goal. Now the way that I do that is actually by choosing the test I want to progress monitor with. So let's say that I want to progress monitor a student who's taking the early literacy assessment. So I'm going to choose early lit, and then I'm going to go to screening, progress monitoring, and intervention. At which point you should just see your class and your school. I'm going to choose sample classroom from a sample school, and I'm going to hit search. And once I do this, it's going to bring up the last test for everyone in my class. It's going to show me their overall percentile rank nationally, and then it'll give me that handy color code. So again, dark green is above the 40th percentile, blue is between the 25th and the 40th percentile, yellow is from the 10th to the 25th percentile, and then red is from the 1st to the 10th percentile. So just by looking at this class quickly, I can tell that there are a few students here who are on the lower end of the spectrum. And let's say I want to set up some sort of intervention for one of these students. So I'm going to pick Armando. He was at the 11th percentile. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to set up some sort of weekly intervention for Armando for the next 3 months, and I'm going to use the STAR assessment to actually monitor his growth during this time. So I click Armando's name. It'll show me his last overall score, the date of his last test, and then under goal, you'll see this little section here that says add goal. So I'm going to click add goal, and it'll bring up another screen, and I'm going to name this intervention first. So I'm going to call this sample intervention with Ms. Oh, look at this, it's so easy. With Ms. Ramirez, it's already here. I've done this demo before. Okay, so I have a sample intervention with Ms. Ramirez. It's a small group once a week, great. And I'll say, okay, it's November 3rd, so this intervention is going to go through the end of January, shall we say. And now underneath here, I need to set my goal type. So first you'll notice that this text here sort of gives you some context for growth. So if Armando were to stay at the 11th percentile throughout the whole school year, he would grow on average 2.8 scale score units a week. So basically his overall score would go up by almost 3 points a week. If you were to reach the 40th percentile benchmark, so if you were to go, right now again, remember that he's at the 11th, if he were to go to the 40th percentile, he would need to increase by 5.5 overall points a week in his overall scale score. So I can do two things. I can set a moderate goal for Armando. So like this is sort of what would be like average growth for someone starting at his level of 508. which would be 6.5 units a week. Or I can set an ambitious goal. So an ambitious goal means that he would grow more than 75% of other students that start at his same level. In effect, he would have an SGP of 75 over the course of the year. So I can choose either one. I can make my own. Maybe I say I want to sort of split the difference. So a moderate goal is 6.2, an ambitious goal is 7.8. I'll say, why don't I just say 7? So I click 7 and then I say calculate goal. And if he grows 7 points a week, he will be at a 642 or the 32nd percentile by January 1st, or sorry, by January 30th, 2015, which was the end date for this goal. And again, I can just show you if I actually change the end date, let's say that I want to go to March instead, he's going to have this intervention for the next 5 months. We'll see how that affects his overall scale score. So I went down and I just hit what is that? Calculate goal again, and we see now that he would be at a 702 or a 44 percentile if he grows at this rate of 7 points a week. So I say great, sounds good. I hit save, and now Armando has his intervention and his goal. Now, in order to actually progress monitor, Armando would just log back in every 2 weeks and take a test. He would just take his early literacy assessment. Again, there's no effect on SGP. And when he's done that, over time, I can go over to this reports tab where it says progress monitoring, and I can look at a report just for Armando. So I'm going to choose just Armando. And I'm going to choose his name out of here. I just want to report it. I just want to. And what was his last name? Oh man, sorry, this is so embarrassing. Let me just go back really fast. You will never have this happen to you because you obviously know the names of all the students in your class. Search and okay, so here he is, Armando, and here's his goal that we just set. There's the end date and there's the growth rate. Great, so I have his last name, and I'm going to go back to progress monitoring, and I'm going to choose just Armando. Scroll down to the G. Oh, there he is. Great. I hit save, and now I say view report. Alright, so when this prints, it's going to look a little bit funny because he hasn't actually taken any tests yet. So if we look on here, you'll notice that it has his test score from, what is that, like mid-September was the last time that he tested. We have his goal for the end of the year, which again was a growth rate of, I think it was 7 points a week. Yep, here it is down here on the right. And if he makes that growth goal, he'll make it to the star by March 15th, which was our end date. And here's his green trend line that he'll need to hit. And as he actually tests over the course of the year, again up to every 2 weeks, you'll see his scores sort of populate here, and then a black trend line is going to show up that actually shows his actual growth over this time. And then it'll also show the results of any testing on the second page as well. So that is the progress monitor feature. I want to go back now that we've looked at actually setting up a goal and looking at the data, and just talk a little bit about the way that this can be used well, and maybe a few words of caution around it as well. So progress monitoring with STAR, there's both good and bad. The good is that it's a pretty easy, quick administration. It has this adaptive format, and it also gives you these sort of mastery estimates for all standards each time that a student actually takes the test. On the other hand, you can't really drill down on just one standard, and you really can't be sure that an individual standard was actually tested on here. A third thing that I would just sort of mention quickly is that the format that STAR is assessing these standards may be different from the format that you're teaching it, so you want to be thoughtful about whether or not the kinds of instruction that you're giving within some sort of intervention are really going to be reflected within the STAR data, or whether there are other assessments that may be more appropriate. But it is a sort of good option, especially for just a sort of quick, easy measure of growth, and so I highly recommend it for that. So that's it. I'm going to cut this video short here. Please watch the next one. Oh, sorry, I should go back. Yeah, so again, the recommendation on using STAR to a progress monitor is really just to use it as more of a general RTI or growth screener, but then you obviously want to bring in any other assessment that you feel like is more relevant or more sort of focused on the actual skills that you want to measure over time. All right, so I'm going to move into part 3, STAR Custom. I'm going to actually cut it off here, so please watch this third video if you want to learn about creating standards or skills-based assessments within STAR, much like Edusoft. All right, thanks for listening, and please follow up with me by email if you have any questions, benjamin.crosby@AspirePublicSchools.